I made a mistake. I did not get a copy of 1999's Compensation in the last Criterion cell. Boy, do I regret it, because this film, I was in love from the first few minutes all the way to the end. Every frame, every shot, every composition, every performance. It's just a 10 out of 10 all the way through. And I can't wait to pick up a copy. I watched it on the Criterion channel and absolutely love this thing. Like, this is what black and white can do at its very best. Zainabu Irene Davis, and forgive my pronunciation there, really put together something special here off of the strengths of two actors, mainly John L. Jex and Michelle Banks. And in the film, they play sort of two lovers or people that are dating, kind of some ambiguity there, in two different scenarios. So one is set in Chicago in the early 1900s, and the other is set in the 1990s, I believe, in Chicago. And each story is told completely effectively. Sometimes when you have those dueling narratives, you know, you lose a little one way or another trying to keep them equal, but it's effortless. And the film begins so wonderfully with these shots of Chicago and these still photos. And I talked recently about the 1930s Russian film or Ukrainian film, I can't remember, it's called Earth, that really spent time with images and sort of stuck with us, not necessarily in an actual still photo form like this does, but there was some, some pieces reminded me of that and of another silent film director, Victor Sjostrom, who you may know from Wild Strawberries and the Bergman film. But on top of that, I was thinking all this early like industry and stuff in Chicago. This is kind of a side bonus, those of you that love Westerns and Red Dead Redemption 2, I actually think you would like this film because some of it reminds me a little bit in a roundabout way of what I saw in Saint Denis and the visual style that worked well there. So that was sort of a side bonus. Also, the characters are at the beach. Both narratives are at the beach, and that's beautiful and touching. And like La Dolce Vita, that beautiful beach scene there, kind of reminded me of something like that. Or Beau Travail, like just really impressive photography on the beach and the way the characters are shot, and it's fantastic. One set of characters, so the early 1900s, that I believe is Melindy and Arthur. And Melindy she's educated, and he's sort of illiterate, kind of a country guy. Someone pokes fun at that and wants her to date a little, quote unquote, better. And she doesn't have hearing, so he has to sort of learn sign language. And a similar sort of thing happens in the late 90s part of this story. This guy, Nico Maleka, she's also deaf, but she's a graphic artist, and he's a librarian. And that librarian, Nico, is one of the most likable guys I've ever seen in a movie. He gets really excited. Like there's this great scene. Like he sits down with the kids while there's like a read aloud in the library, and he's like getting into it with them and doing the voices, and it's so authentic and real. And I've watched him in interviews since this, like just the most captivating librarian. I would love to go to that guy's library. He's just so nice. And what's so interesting is all the characters in this film that I saw, or most of them, they're black, and but the film doesn't. It has a way of demonstrating like the power of communication, and it doesn't beat you to death with like ideologies. It naturally communicates like racism is bad, being mean to people who have hearing impairments is bad. Like you learn those things because of the humanity of the characters, and it never has to preach at you. You just feel and experience, and you get to be part of this captivating, beautiful, wonderful world that's been created here. And this really is, to me, one of those landmark, stunning indie black and white films. Simple images. A lot of it reminds me of Yasujiro Ozu in that way. This actually feels like a kind of story he could have crafted, where you have these two different families, simple family drama. Although this is dating, but it just felt kind of similar. I'll tell you, this film also deals with a couple of illnesses, and the way that those illnesses are dealt with. It could have been like saccharine sweet or whatever, and it's not. It's tender and emotional and powerful and moving. It makes you want to participate in a positive way in the world and do something fun with your life and good with your life. And this makes you want to learn and read and experience. There's a wonderful dance number where I believe it's Maleka's friend, he's a dancer, but he's also deaf, but he dances even though he's deaf, and so that's not like, it's never looked down upon. In fact, one of the characters says, deaf people don't need your saving or pity. One of the characters learns sign language, and the teacher says that, right? There's no pity here, and there's no preaching. It is a simple lesson. It's not a dump of exposition of thoughts of how you're supposed to feel. It is shown and displayed, and I would, like, of all the Criterions I've watched, maybe it's because I'm a sucker for a great black and white film. I like calm films. I like still films sometimes. You know, I've talked about Perfect Days. Maybe this was like the perfect storm of things that I love in film. But it was in the Criterion Collection. It was on the Criterion channel celebrating Black History Month. I watched it. You know, I had a recent experience with Malcolm X that was great. And it just really made my day. And I wanted to make a little video about it because it's something that I did not know was this good. And I think it's still even a little bit underrated and a little bit undervalued. And I put it as one of my best films in the 90s. So, high praise for the film. I'm curious, what you all think about it. I didn't cover all the territory here, but I wanted to at least throw some thoughts out there. This is kind of a reaction. I jotted a few things down, but sometimes when I really feel enthusiastic about a movie, I just like to talk about it. Makes me feel good. And I hope you'll watch it as well. If you like the content today, want to click the thumbs up, I'd appreciate it. Leave your thoughts on the film if you've seen it, and subscribe to Cody in the Cinema.